So, good evening, everyone. In Brazil, it's still good afternoon. We have two Brazilians here, and we have Arturo. Arturo, I had the pleasure to meet a couple of months ago, or is it a couple of months already?
Something
It's
like that.
it's short, but I had a really good connection with him. It was lovely to see him in person, and ever since we're chatting every day, it's so nice to have met him. And sometimes you meet people and you feel like you know them for a lifetime already, and that's how I felt with him. So of course I invited him to join us, and he's been to a couple of meetings. But now it's his turn to talk to you guys, answer your questions. Please, Arturo, just give us a little introduction, and then I'm pretty sure we're gonna start with the round of questions. Welcome.
Thank you, Simone, again, and really nice to be here on your space, meeting all these beautiful people. So yes, like Simone mentioned, we haven't met for that long, but we had a really nice connection from day one. We have a common friend who perhaps might join, and then that's how we met, and we had a really beautiful time together. So yeah, I heard about this project, and I told her that I love the idea of anyway meeting people from different places. I am myself from another country, living in another place, so I can definitely share a lot of stories. I have crazy stories actually. If you're curious, ask for the crazy ones later. Deportation related stuff even almost, but anyway, so a lot of stuff. But then really happy to be here. So I am originally from Costa Rica. So I am from overseas, and I lived there for my whole youth, and I started university there. And I had the opportunity to be in this international student organization, and I had this role where I was traveling a bit to some international conferences, and the idea of being abroad somewhere else, it really caught my attention. I guess I always felt like as an outsider in my own country. I don't know if any of you have had that feeling before, but it really felt like that. So I was, not fitting at school. Um, the topics that were popular, they were just not resonating with me. And then I had this opportunity to be abroad in a conference, and then it clicked for me. So then I knew that once I was, coming back to Costa Rica to continue or finish my studies, I realized that I needed then to go somewhere else eventually. So luckily for me, I had the opportunity to move to Europe, to Germany first on a trainee program, and my original idea or my wish was to go to Asia because I wanted it to be very different. I wanted not to understand anything, but I moved to Germany without speaking the language, so I guess it sort of counts of not understanding and not just understanding the language, but then not understanding a lot of the behaviors that were normal for the Germans, that for me it did not make any sense. And I would love to later elaborate perhaps on that with you guys. But then, yeah, so then I was in Germany, and I thought it was just going to be a couple of years staying, and I was going to be back to Costa Rica. But then the opportunity to move to the Netherlands showed up, and it's been already quite some years working in different fields. My background is in economics and business, but then I've been doing. I started in finance, did more commercial related stuff, a lot of project management in international companies, and then later I realized that despite me loving the international environment that I was in and living and traveling in different countries, I realized that something still was missing. So that's why I mentioned in my introduction video that I'm now trying or switching into the humanitarian field. So it's been also an interesting process, in a way, rediscovering myself and trying to, change my professional path, and that's where I am now, enjoying the process of discovering and always meeting new people, and see what comes next. Because I think life, that's it. There's always something different, or at least we can make it different and making it more interesting. So that's how I see it. It doesn't really matter how old we are, but it's really up to us on getting new challenges. And I see that it's also really spread out the age in this group, and from other sessions that I have been as well with, or that I've checked from Simone, then I really find this amazing, that as well, how generations can also, you know, bring different perspectives and different views. But well, so that's a bit of a tale, but I guess you might have some questions, and happy to answer some of them and just have a dialogue together today.
All right, Arturo, that was really amazing. That was a long introduction, I think, very clear. It's still, of course, I'm doubting here because you say you're from Costa Rica. So as
Yeah.
a Latino from Latin America,
Mm-hmm.
I think most of us, we have dreamed to live the American dream, to go spend some time in America at least, or to immigrate. So by what you said, you didn't have that at all. You know,
Never.
and
Definitely
how
not.
how did you learn English? Because your mother tongue is Spanish and you speak it very well. And it doesn't sound, you don't sound either German or Dutch.
Okay.
So this accent that you have is
It's
coming from
not
where
good
then?
question. Well, I mean, I had English lessons when I was in school, so elementary school and high school, and that was pretty much it. I actually never really had the chance to travel when I was younger to an English-speaking country. I always wanted it, but I never really had the opportunity until later. Uh, until later when I was, yeah, maybe like 18, when I was starting university. So then it was just from high school, I would say. So maybe I I'm okay with the accents, perhaps. I don't know. But I do hear that every now and then, that people tell me, "Oh, Arturo, how come you come from a Spanish-speaking country and you don't have such a strong accent?" I guess I just started learning the language from a younger age. That's my assessment.
And maybe watching TV, American series.
Watching TV, that's a good one, Simone. And I think it's very important now as well that I'm also learning other languages, like Dutch, for example, that put in the news, watching the shows, ideally not with, you know, like if for the ones in Brazil, for example, of course, it's easier to read the
Subtitle.
subtitles in Portuguese, for example, just to put a language out there. But then ideally you would do it with the English subtitles. And my parents had cable TV. Maybe that is a good one. We had cable TV at home. And I remember watching shows in English. I mean,
That helps. Yeah.
that definitely helped, for sure.
And I know you've been to Brazil. For the Brazilians here, tell us what was the most surprising thing? Because, like Latinos, we say, oh, we're similar somehow, but I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure there was something that really surprised you. And also, what was the most beautiful thing that you saw there? Like they say, wow, it's so different from my country, even if it's South America, Latin America.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say, first of all, que eu adoro o Brasil. Estou apaixonado. Incrível para mim. Mas, well, let's
And he
not
sounds
go into
Brazilian as well, guys.
no, but I love Brazil. I find it as really a beautiful place. I have had the opportunity of, yes, like you mentioned, travel there. That was long ago. But I stayed like almost a month in Sao Paulo area and visited Rio as well for some sort of congress in this organization that I mentioned when I was in university, and I had an amazing time. There were a few differences or many differences. I don't know, because it still felt familiar, but it was a different language. I think in Costa Rica we are maybe a bit more reserved than in Brazil. It felt that a random weekend in Rio, it's like the biggest party you can find in pretty much any other country. And I guess it's not just in Rio, but it's in the entire country, because Brazilians are perhaps one of the warmest, nicest people I have met. They're very just, lively and thrilled about life, and I just had beautiful, beautiful experiences from the visit back in the days, and from people that I have met as well while living in Europe. I always clicked with them. I see some hands raised, and I missed who was the first one.
I think that was Richard. Richard, go
Richard,
ahead. Yes.
please.
Thank you so much. Doesn't matter. Arturo, Richard, Cape Town, South Africa. Nice to make your acquaintance.
Same.
I'm actually interested in your transition. You told us you lived in Germany for a while and now
Yeah.
live in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
How is that transition? How have you taken on that transition? I mean, I know the Germans are totally different to Dutch, so totally different. So how did you handle that transition, and how's it been living in the Netherlands for the time you've been there?
Thank you, Richard, for the question. They are very different. And I guess Europeans as well might think or make the assumption, oh, Latin America, they all are the same. I have to admit that back in the days when I moved first to Germany and then moved to the Netherlands, I thought, yeah, it's going to be pretty much the same, just a different language, like Costa Rica and Brazil. But it was a completely different story. So in Germany, it was for work. So I applied or got a position based in the headquarters of the company in Germany, and I was going to be working with the Americas region. So very young, I was 23, and my entire team was 40 plus. So I was the only non-German of the team. So it was very difficult. And I don't know, Barbara, how far away perhaps you feel from the Germans, but maybe you're closer being from Switzerland. But then for me, coming from a Latin country and being much younger than the rest, it was very difficult. I remember that their team meetings used to be in German, but then I came. So then it was like, well, now they need to be done in English. And my excuse there was like, guys, we are the global team. We are the ones dealing with the different regions. All the materials and everything needs to be in English then, right? They did not appreciate it that much. But anyway, I came to disrupt their status quo. And it was a really big learning for me. I learned a lot about myself, how to conduct myself, how to be at least also as well more aware of those cultural nuances. And it was tough. So then when I transitioned and moved to the Netherlands, it was also because of work. So I got I applied to some jobs, and it happened to be based in the Netherlands. So I again pretty much made the same mistake as originally, that I thought, well, yeah, they're going to be the same as the Germans. And it was from day one completely different. I moved to Maastricht. That was the first city that I lived. And I still remember I came with some friends that helped me out moving, and just the colors, the city. Maastricht is beautiful anyway, so all the colors of the city compared to Germany where I lived, that everything was very gray, and people were also casually being super nice on the streets, and the bus driver stopped and waited for us or for my friends to depart. So then literally from day one things were different, but I was in a way lucky enough that it was through work. So then I did not have to go through major issues with arranging paperwork, because then I was being sent to the country. So that was much easier. But then personally, it was a challenge, but then a challenge that I really appreciated and enjoyed. And I think it all depends on how we face those challenges. Depends on how we've like that attitude that we have, that is going to be the outcome. I'm really convinced about that. So despite, yes, being sad because I had to leave friends or family or whatever behind, it really depends on us. We are the owners of our own process, right? So then I was really convinced that I, needed to do as much as I could to see the differences and try to accept them. Also not to judge things based on how I see things, but stop for a moment and then try to understand how is it that the other side are seeing the things, because we come from different countries and we have different perspectives of how people should conduct themselves, of how people should be at the office, how people should be in a social environment. So there's so many differences, and I think we need to be aware of that. Important in my
Wow,
view.
that was good. Very inspiring, Arturo. I'm just going to ask Nelson here to share a map so we can see where you lived in Germany and where you live now in the Netherlands, because it's not that far. And as you're describing, it's in other words, right?
Yes.
So let's see. There was in,
I lived in Bonn,
can you spell it?
Cologne. So if you put,
Please send me on a chat the name of the cities.
Yeah, I will. Just give a second.
I can type it as well.
Yeah, can you do it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna type. You can put Bonn or Cologne. We're gonna write at least those two are in Germany. So they are on the western side of the country, not too far from the Dutch border, let's say. They share some similarities with the south. I think you guys met Raúl before, Ruben before from Maastricht. Raúl, what am I talking? And
Yeah.
they have, for example, Carnival. I remember my first Carnival was in Cologne, and that was like crazy. And that already shows the differences between the countries, because the Carnival in the Netherlands, at least in the south, is very different. And Ruben is not gonna let me lie on this one.
Nelson, can you okay, so can you put the route to Amsterdam where he lives now? Because that is in the
Yes.
north, central north part of the Netherlands. And then you see that it's not that far. Amsterdam.
Put Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Mhm.
Are you in Amsterdam now,
Yes,
Arturo?
I am in Amsterdam now.
Okay. Nice to see you here.
So, you see, guys, it's 3 hours.
Yes.
And as Arturo was mentioning, it's completely different, the lifestyle, the way they act, react, how they are. It's two different cultures. Now, when you take like Cologne or Bonn and you change Amsterdam to Maastricht, you will see that it's much closer, but it's still we have two different countries, right? You still have the
have a
Netherlands.
picture right here close to this museum.
Nice one. It's
And
one of
it's
my
a mini Duran.
favorites.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I've
like
never been
it's an
there.
interactive. It's perfect for kids or grown-ups who feel like kids inside, like myself. The Nemo Museum is amazing. So it's very interactive. It's like a science museum.
Yeah.
It has like 4.5
like a
stars.
ship.
Sorry, Nelson.
It looks like a ship.
It looks like a ship. Yeah, exactly. And in the upper, you see like the rooftop there. Perfect for summertime.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, Arturo, so then we have the 3 hours difference between Cologne and Amsterdam, but then sometimes you are also in Maastricht, and it's just like
Yes.
1 hour 15 minutes.
Exactly. It's like an hour and 15 minutes or something. Yeah. So
Yes.
Maastricht
And
is
then
in
you
the
have
south.
again another culture in other countries, right? It's not that far. Like in São Paulo, where I'm from, where Nelson lives, 1 hour we go from one part of the city to the other, and it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
In here you have different languages and yeah, at least the languages are different. And well, yeah, in the Netherlands we also have different languages. I mean, in Friesland you have a different one. In the south you have multiple dialects. So then it's quite a thing. And yes, they all also we all have different ways of expressing ourselves. We have different accents as well, pretty much like as it happens in Brazil, or as it happens in Switzerland as well, because in Switzerland you guys speak multiple languages as well, so it's a complete different story.
Yes. All right. So thank you, Nelson. Let's move on, guys, because Maria is reading with
Maria has a
for a while
question.
now. Thank you, Nelson.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what was the biggest culture shock for you after you moved to Germany? Because like different continents, kind of.
Good, great question, Maria. Thank you for it. Well, so many things that come to mind. I think one of the biggest ones for me was that in Germany, and I guess it also happens here in the Netherlands, but then people complain a lot, maybe because everything is just perfect and running well, but then they get really upset when things are not going okay. And then I think they then miss the joy of those little moments that, why are you complaining? For me, it was like, why are you complaining this bad? I remember I needed to take a bus to go to the office, for example. And of course, let's say the bus was at 7:54, literally 7:54. And then I would go out at 7:50. And normally at 7:54, the bus would come. I would see the same people. And then if it was 7:55, people would be upset. And one time, I guess the bus was late 2 or 3 minutes, and I assumed this guy had a very important meeting, but he was so upset, hitting hitting stuff. And then for me, it was like, man, the bus is coming eventually, like I just could not believe that this person could react that way about something that he cannot control. So I don't know if it is, again, in Costa Rica, we say something, we have a slogan or a saying, which in Spanish says pura vida, which is pure life. It's our motto, that we just go with the flow and we just get, we're
was
chill.
my question for you, the pura
Yes,
vida.
but I'm gonna then elaborate more on that one. I'm not gonna go more. So then, for me, it was impressive that these guys were not living this pura vida mindset, and they were complaining for this little stuff that it was just insane. And I do see a bit of that in the Netherlands as well, I'm afraid. And I would say it is maybe more like a Western European kind of thing. Sorry if someone from Western European countries feels doesn't like what I'm saying.
I think Barbara is getting upset already because she's pretty much the same. Ooh, Barbara.
We will see what she thinks, but this is just my personal experience, my personal assessment, and I know that I'm sharing judgment here. But Maria asked me the question, and for me, especially at the beginning, I could not process it. So for me, I could not compute the fact that someone was complaining for such a small thing when everything is actually running perfectly. So it felt a bit ungrateful in a way, or at least that's how I felt it. But then again, that was my impression, and that really left a scar that up until almost like 10 years after. I still remember that day. Yeah. Thank you, Maria.
I'm sorry. I can't find the yellow hand anywhere. I don't know where my hand is, so I'm just gonna.
You can do like this. You can do like this.
Yeah, I know, but I have some. But I think
Okay,
it's a really
Ruben.
good example. I think it's a really good example. And I have to say that as a Dutch person, I mean, I've traveled, I've seen, yeah, lots of different countries as well, but I was, you know, I was born in a lucky part of the world. But I totally agree. And it also, that mindset, let's just call it like a kind of Western European or like a Western sense of entitlement, you know, because we have everything and we have, you know, everything's here in abundance. We have all the technology and all the systems and all the money, and we have this entitlement that we think everything should work for us exactly like it should. So I share your frustration with that mindset. I also don't think like that.
Thank you,
So
Ruben, for
I think it's a
sharing.
good example, and it's not to choose your side, but for example, I've also been in countries like Morocco. You have a bus stop. There are like 50 people at the bus stop. There are no times. Nobody knows when the bus is going to come. You know, it's like a completely different priorities and different, you know, people are happy to meet each other and to have like a maybe half an hour of, you know, being able to talk to each other instead of cursing the bus driver.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is too deep or too political, but I do think it's a kind of side effect of living in a country where everything simply works. You know, everything's arranged well, but I can tell you as a Dutch person in the Netherlands, like the side effect is that everything works so well that everything is completely over arranged. You know, there's no space for but yeah,
I
it's
think I think we get your point, Ruben. I was
Thank
just
you, Ruben.
wondering
yeah.
because John,
Yeah.
he's half Australian and half Netherlands, Nederlander. So I was wondering, John, if you could say something about that, because do you feel the same coming from Australia to Maastricht, for instance?
Yes, definitely, because in Australia it's a very laid back lifestyle, you know, no worries. And here in Holland, everybody's uptight. They want to do things on time. I worked a lot here in Holland, so you always get a kind of urgency on yourself to do stuff in a certain time, and that really gives a lot of stress. So I'm now I'm a pensioner, so I'm not so stressed anymore, I hope.
All right. Thanks, John,
Thank you,
for
John.
sharing. I was wondering, Barbara, could you please say something about that? Because I believe that in Switzerland is even
Depends where. Depends where.
strict. Like she's from the German part, so she's more German. And as Arturo was saying, in Germany, they are even stricter than in Belgium and in the Netherlands, even if there are some similarities. So please, Barbara, can you just tell us if that's how you feel as well when things are not working, if you have some time and you're late and you have an appointment?
I don't like to be late. So yes, it's I think we have planned every minute of the day, and if there is something not work, you feel bad, or your plans get around. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
I totally,
yes,
yeah, I
I
understand
think it's
completely because like we human beings, it's not like we are robots, but we are used to our routine. So if things don't go the way we are used to, it takes some time for us to adjust. And humans, we don't like adjustments, so we just like to go with the flow. So if you're used to la vida pura
Pura
vida,
vida, yeah.
pura vida, if you're used to just, you
Yeah.
know, like, oh, whatever
So
comes, oh, whatever happens, happens. And then
I
you have to
remember
be strict.
I
Yeah.
have a bus story from Costa Rica because I
yeah?
was there 25 years ago,
Oh,
and we traveled by bus in everywhere in the country, and we asked our someone
Guide?
what time does the bus goes. So just stand there. It comes when it comes. And we were waiting there and didn't know if the
It
bus
never.
comes.
Oh.
But he came, and then there was something wrong, so they had to come a mechanician, and they had to fix it, and there were hours we had to wait, but it was easy then. But if this would happen here, I think people will not be that nice. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Barbara. Arturo,
you.
now that we're talking about Costa Rica, can you please tell us a little bit more about your country, like the things that you really miss and the things that like that you have never seen anywhere else? Because I'm pretty sure you also traveled a lot. They say they're so typical from Costa Rica, not just food, but anything else that you can say, oh, I really miss it. And yeah, sometimes I wish I was there.
Yes, well, I can say a lot of things about my country. I think it's a beautiful place. We are very proud of the fact that we don't have an army since 1948, 49. So I don't know how wise it is nowadays, for example, with the whole situation in the world. But then it was a decision to then take the money that was going to go into the military and invest it in education and healthcare. So then healthcare and education are both free for everyone. And I mean, of course, we have private schools and private hospitals, but then everyone has the opportunity to have education, even higher education, and all your medical expenses covered, even if you don't have the aims, you know, like the means to. So then
Wow,
I'm very proud of that. And
yeah, you should.
thanks.
I
We
didn't know that. I didn't know that
no?
about Costa Rica.
No, yes,
No, I didn't
it's
know, but I think it's
well, I think it's beautiful, to be honest. Of course, it's imperfectly perfect. Could be so much better in so many ways, but I think it's something that us Costa Ricans are very proud of that. I don't know if you knew, but then we have like the 5% of the biodiversity in the entire world is there.
Oh,
Yes.
Right.
So that means you're gonna see a lot of stuff. Snakes here and there. I don't know, a tarantula might show up. One time I was sleeping at home and I got stung by a scorpion.
oh wow.
But I don't know, Barbara, if you saw a few stuff, a few animals on your visit, but then you have 5% of the entire biodiversity of the world there. So I think it's quite special. And a lot of it is as well under the waters. So if you like, you know, whales and do some diving, that's a good place for you. But the government as well, back in the days, big part of the country is protected. So size-wise, we are about the same size as the Netherlands, but we are only 5 million people, and a lot of the areas are protected. So then again, it's not perfect. Recycling perhaps could be better, but for example, but then it is really embedded as part of the law. But then we as locals as well, we are aware of that, and we're kind of like taking care or checking on it. So I think that's also quite a special thing. And we are really pro renewable energy. So the 98% of the country actually runs in renewable energy. So it's hydroelectric, wind, and geothermal sources. We have a lot of volcanoes, so then we can get energy from there. But then we have big hydroelectric plants. Actually, my dad works building, let's say, sort of speak this. He works for the company or the entity in the government who runs this, and 98% of our energy is renewable. So I think despite being a developing country with not all the resources, I think we stand on the right side of the environment and so on. Sorry?
It's not my time. My
Please,
yellow
Nelson.
hand is erase it, but it's not my time. It's only to complete what you
Please.
were saying. This hydroelectric that have you in your country, you share with the other country? Because here in Brazil, we have two big hydroelectrics
Mhm.
and we share with other countries. The first one we share with Argentina, the other one we share with Venezuela, I think, if I'm not wrong. Your country share the things with other countries because you are close to other ones.
Yeah, good question. And I am now checking online as we speak, and we do have a regional power transmission system with the region. So in Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama, we do export because we do have a surplus on energy. So then we send it or we
No,
sell
you
it to those countries.
export energy, not share the hydroelectric.
No, it's then there is a commercial thing in between. So
Yeah,
we
I
are
see.
exporting, let's say, the surplus of energy.
Because in these hydroelectrics,
Oh,
we don't export energy for them. The
Correct.
hydroelectric produce for the both countries, you know?
Correct. So we're producing for more, and then that extra that we have, we sell it.
Very nice, very nice.
Good question.
No,
Thank
it's
you
my
for
turn. Now it's my turn.
Well, please go for it with the question. I will ask
Yeah.
or add some stuff later, but I'm curious to hear what's your question.
My question is, I don't know if you already answered, but how long have you been in Netherlands and what do you do in Netherlands? The other one is, you said that 5% of biodiversity it's in your country. It's true. I checked it here in the beginning of this meeting.
I didn't lie. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Fact checking. I like it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not checking what you say. I did my search in the beginning for ask you. It's dangerous because I had traveled in some countries in the world, and the people says, Brazil is really dangerous because you have the Amazonian. Yeah. So we are dangerous, but not because of the Amazonian. I think because of Rio de Janeiro, but it's other subject.
Heider's there with a question
Okay.
as well. Nelson, be careful. Heider's coming after you. Carioca, he's
So,
here. Ooh. Sorry.
so your country is dangerous because of this diversity. Maybe I'm across the street and then suddenly crocodile or a snake. I don't know.
Well, yeah, okay. Good question as well, Nelson. So it's not that the entire country is a complete jungle. So not the case. I mean, there are areas that the protected areas that definitely you need to be mindful. I can mention a couple of things here. So when I was growing up, I remember it's just part of the training. They would tell you how to identify venomous snakes. There are some that are fake, and then how you can identify based on color coding or the shape of the head, etc. So that is one that maybe people are also aware and the people then are educated. So then locals then are more careful of that. But it's not that you have these things also like in the city all over. So, I mean, because of development as well, maybe some of the species are not around or are pushed away from the cities. But I can mention that on my last trip, for example, I went to a national park, and I saw just on the path that is designed for you to walk, I saw 3 venomous, poisonous snakes that I was like, wow, literally, you don't even realize. There was a guy eventually, they put like little stones to warn the people walking to be mindful, because if you just walk past and you don't do anything to them, no problem. But then the moment that you get closer, and the problem is that sometimes you don't even notice because the really bad ones are really small and they camouflage. So then can be tricky. But I don't know about the statistics of how many people have, died because of a snake. I guess if we ask ChatGPT, might come up with a number. You don't hear it that much though. And I think, yeah, people are just educated in that sense. We're told those things at school. Or I think it was not too long ago that in Argentina was a big, dengue, this disease that is transmitted by a mosquito. And dengue, yes. So then there is a special type of mosquito who does it. It's not all mosquitoes. It comes a certain time. And I remember when I was, I don't know, 6, there are things that you need to do to prevent. So then we would be checking if there's I don't know, like things where the water can be stored, and that causes the mosquito to to feed and to have a place. So then we were taught this kind of things. We don't have this type of crisis in Costa Rica because we already know. We were told that when we were younger.
I see.
Yeah. And to answer your other question, Nelson,
How long have you
maybe
been in
before
that?
that, I don't know if there are more questions about the country, because then that was very personal. So maybe we have more questions about the country. I think John just said yes. Maybe I would like to continue on that topic, and I'll get back to your question later, Nelson. Is that okay with you?
I'm curious about the indigenous people of Costa Rica.
Yeah.
There must be Indians, I reckon, before the Spanish conquistadors came and took over the place.
That's correct. Great question, John. And I'm glad that you brought this one, because not everyone is aware of that in Costa Rica as well. We also have like indigenous populations. I would lie to you if I know all the names, but there are quite some, maybe even like 14 or something like of them. They up until today, they all have the different tribes. They have their protected territory, so they rule their territories. They have their own laws, and that is protected. We have, like I mentioned, many of them. They all have their languages, and at school, in their schools, they would learn Spanish, and they also have their language at school. And on my last trip, I actually did a quick visit to one of them, and it was beautiful to see the school with all the ads and everything in their local language. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we still have, it's not that many as in other countries. Like if you go to Guatemala, for example, you really have a big presence in the country. For us, it's much less. And nowadays they would wear normal clothing like us. And they have, there's of course in a lot of their communities a big problematic, because the younger generations, they want to, they have access to the phone, so they want to be immersed or be part of the globalized world. So then for a lot of them, they have this a bit of a resistance, learning their cultures, and that's a pity. So that is going down the numbers, but we still have small groups present up until today. And there are archaeological areas in the country, archaeological sites, thank you, Zimani, and that are spread in the country, mainly in the south. And they are quite interesting to visit. You will see, it's not as Tikal in Guatemala, for example, or Machu Picchu in Peru, but they are much smaller. And maybe what I can mention, you guys can Google this later, we have some stone spheres, as in like, you know what a sphere is? Like a ball, let's say, like a sphere is like the shape. They're made of stone, and they may vary from the sizes. So some of them are smaller. Some of them are literally huge. And they were doing some tests, and they checked that the diameter and the dimensions of these spheres were perfect, and they were carved perfectly. Nobody understands how these people from back in the days managed to do this with such precision, and that is still a mystery.
Wow, nice, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, John,
All
for your
right,
question.
I have here Heider and Barbara received a question. I don't know if they're going to stay in Costa Rica, but I would like to ask Nelson again to share the map, because when I was in San Jose, the capital, I remember they telling me that Costa Rica, you can go from one part of the country to the other, like east, west, west, in like 3 hours. So I would like to show you guys how actually small the country is. And you have both of the oceans, if I'm not mistaken. You don't have
That's
the Caribbean,
correct.
but you have Pacific and Atlantic Ocean.
That is correct. We have the
So
two.
let's see. And also, of course, all the volcanoes that makes the country really special. So let's see here, guys.
I love geography, so I could literally speak the entire day about this. But then, indeed, Costa Rica. So we have the Caribbean Sea, the sea, which is the Atlantic Ocean, and the Pacific on both sides.
Nelson, please zoom in so we can see more of the country. Can you please zoom in? Nelson, just zoom in. No, no, you don't have to. You just show Costa Rica as a country. You don't have to go on maps. You don't have to put the location. You just have to zoom in with the mouse, with your mouse. I don't know how.
On the
I'm
bottom.
struggling to say that in
On the
Portuguese.
bottom.
Ah,
yes.
yeah, there you
No,
go.
there you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Ok, agora coloca mais para perto, coloca mais para perto pra gente.
Mais pertinho, sim.
Mais
Okay.
perto, mais perto.
Okay, so
All
a bit,
right.
yeah. So then, as you see, indeed, San Jose is the capital,
Yes,
and
Rican, né?
yes. So then we have we have 7 provinces, and 4 of them, their main cities are in the San Jose area. So we call it the Central Valley. We have a lot of volcanoes around in this area. So most of the people live there. Out of 5 million, 1.5 or so live in the central area, or maybe a bit more. And indeed, like Simone was saying, we could travel on the same day from one coast to the other. It would take more than 3 hours, and maybe nowadays even extra because of traffic jams. But then to do that, I don't know if you can see that in the middle, there's more green. So that means that is like the mountain stuff. There's a mountain range that goes in the middle of the country. So to go from one coast to the other, you do need to go up and down the mountains, and it takes quite a bit of extra time. The roads are better than back in 25 years ago, Barbara. So if you go, they're better. But they're not as in Switzerland. And we have Heider and Barbara with some questions. So
Thank you, Nelson. All right,
thank you, Nelson.
Heider.
Hello, Arturo.
Hello.
man. So, Brazil is far from perfect, right? Yeah. So, what did you dislike about Brazil, or what did you didn't like in Brazil about Brazil
What I
when
did
you
not
were
like.
here? Yeah.
Okay. What I did not like. I felt that you can be in the city, let's say, and suddenly this road is fine, and the road on the literally like the road across is like super dangerous. So I just felt like, oh, I don't know how to really move. And well, back in the days, I was not a well-traveled person. Maybe this is the impression from back in the days. But then for me, I felt really unsafe in some moments that I like, this looks not okay. And suddenly I'm in an open area, but I did not know how to identify those safe or how to identify those dangerous areas. And I just felt, because of that, unsafe not the entire time, but multiple times when I was expecting it to be okay. And I think this is something that happens across Latin America. It's quite normal to have this phenomenon in our cities, but for some reason it felt very present in Brazil, at least more than in my own country. So it was a bit confronting for me.
Okay,
Hope that
thank you.
answered your question. Thank you, Heider.
All right, Barbara.
Barbara?
Yes, so I want to know, where in Costa Rica are you born or lives your family, and which area do you like most and why?
Lovely question. So I come from Ciudad Colón, which is in San Jose province, but not San Jose city. So I am still in this valley that I mentioned, and I am on the western side. It's on the way to the beach, but not at the beach. My parents still live there, and when I visit, I stay in that area. What I like the most, or one of the things that I like the most, because I think it would be hard for me to choose one, but in Costa Rica is if you pay attention, and maybe this is because of my dad, you can really see the transitions of the landscape changes based on the altitude. And I'm a bit of a geek, sorry on this one, right? Told you about me liking geography, but then it's really different. Like if you're at the beach area, or if you are in the valley, or if you go up in the mountains, the vegetation really changes, but the animals, the sounds, the smell, the color of the ground, literally if you pay attention, and I guess I was paying a lot of attention, even the smell of the rain would smell different from different areas. So it was really, really special. And yeah, the fact that you can be at the beach or be in the mountain. We don't have like snowy mountains like you, Barbara. That's a pity. But
you have volcanoes, we don't have.
And the volcanoes are beautiful.
Good
Like
point, Barbara.
we have one that you can literally go up.
El Arenal.
Arenal is nice. So you see the lava every now and then coming out from it. And we have the Poás volcano that you can literally go up in the crater. So you can literally be in the crater and look down and see
the green
the craters.
water.
The green water one, though, yes. So it changes color from time to time. It's not always green.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes can be more brown because of the activity of the volcano. So we do have a lot of active volcanoes there, and can be special. Can be maybe scary if you live around the area, but then this is another one. It's also a seismic country, so we have a lot of earthquakes. But then everything is in the end also well thought or well planned. So we have a very strict seismic code. So that's why you don't have high buildings in general, because it's not that safe. And as well with the volcanoes, they all have a certain area where where it's not allowed to build houses or so, because there have done the studies that are secure areas. So these kind of little things, they are very, very structured and very well thought, despite being a poor or developing country. I would not call it a poor country, because you can actually live very well with really high standards nowadays. And maybe because, like what I mentioned, that education and healthcare and everything is, it's there, you can access it. So then the quality of life has definitely increased, and people there live, in my opinion, overall very well. We do have, of course, poverty, and they're poor people, but at a much lower scale compared to other countries in the region.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Barbara.
Wow, Arturo, you nailed that one. Everyone, would you like to ask a question still? Because I saw
Yeah, I
you.
was going to ask a question, but I think Ruben has a question, so he can go ahead.
All right.
I'll try to
Yeah, I
reply quick.
do.
Please.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short. No, obviously Costa Rica, well, I mean, it sounds like paradise, you know, all nature, lovely people, 2 oceans, no army. And I was wondering if Costa Rica is, since you have no army, which I really support. I mean, I'm all for peace, but let's say something happens, who's going to defend you? So
Very good question.
So my question basically is Costa Rica, is it the independent like nation, republic, or are you part of a protectorate like Puerto Rico to the US?
Okay, great. Thank you for the question, Ruben. We are completely independent. So it's a risk, yes, especially in the world that we live nowadays. We are pro-diplomacy, and we have had a few altercations, for example, with Nicaragua, with our neighbor from the north, that they wanted, you know, to take some land, etc. So we go to The Hague, and we use the international courts, and we try to use diplomacy, and I think that has been a standard of our country. And we are kind of like hoping that if someone tries to invade us, the international community is going to step in or support. But then nowadays, you never know with Trump in power. But then
I'm sure
you never know. It is a risk, I would say, but I think we're not afraid of that. We don't really think of that. We are really like committed. I hope that I'm speaking for the majority of people that yeah, there's a peaceful way to resolve conflicts, and we don't believe in war, and I personally definitely don't. And a peaceful resolution of conflicts and diplomacy, it's the way to go.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's really an example for a lot of other countries. So I hope hope more countries will take over the same philosophy.
If we all had that mentality, the world would be definitely different. Thank you, Ruben.
Yeah.
Evren had another question?
Yes, let's go to Evren, because we are definitely running out of time, guys.
Yes, sorry,
and he still
Evren.
has to answer Nelson's questions. Okay, Evren.
Arturo, nice to meet you, and thanks for all the information. Very interesting. You're an interesting person. I liked a lot.
Thank you.
But I want to ask something not about Costa Rica, but in your intro, you said that you are also a humanitarian worker, right?
I'm switching fields. Yes, so I am now. I'm doing some master program on the side, and I am now working as well with Save the Children. So I'm a facilitator for them as well. So we do different, working mainly with children that are refugees, and I'm doing some work on that one. And also my dissertation research that I'm running at the moment is related to migration.
So you do it in the Netherlands, right? Right now.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you know, because I'm also interested in these kind of things. Do you know I think there is like UNICEF and some other organizations who do things like that. But sometimes I'm searching for what organizations I can participate in to help some people around the world. I mean, of course, all of us have some people to help in our countries, but sometimes to do it in a larger scale is interesting for me, because same like you, I'm also an international person. I have been to many countries, and I like getting experience from there. It's very interesting. You also learn. You not only help, but also you learn something. So I don't know if you know some other organizations or any recommendations maybe that we can do time to time, because I'm also doing my own business. Sometimes I have time, sometimes I don't have time, but sometimes I think I wish I could do something for a few weeks and then go back to my work, then do it again, you know.
That's nice,
sorry,
Evren.
guys, sorry. I think this one is a
We'll take a lot of time.
yeah. I think this
Okay.
one, I'm gonna put you guys in contacts and we can definitely discuss about that one.
Okay.
Somehow with this question, you already answered Nelson's question. So the only question is gonna be left is, how long have you been living in the Netherlands and are you willing to stay there for the rest of your life or moving?
Perfect.
All
Good.
right,
Okay,
Nelson?
Evren, we talk about it later. I have a lot to share
Okay.
on that one. To
Thank
reach
you.
or to ask or answer Nelson's question. Yeah, I've been in the Netherlands for over 8 years, and I've lived in different cities around. Do I see myself living forever in the Netherlands? Not so sure. I think I would like to live in other places. My dream would be to be deployed in, I don't know, in the Middle East or in Africa and do some humanitarian work there. But I do see myself coming back to the Netherlands. So then the Netherlands is my home, and it's not only Costa Rica. I really see myself coming if I have to be somewhere else. I do see myself coming to the Netherlands, and it is an amazing feeling that this is my home. Maybe the people around me, my close connections make it home, most likely. The weather, definitely not. but then I'm very, very happy to have that feeling that I'm such at ease and feeling this comfortable in the country that I live in.
Oh, wow. With that note, we're gonna have to close it, guys. And you see, Arturo, you are Dutch, not just by the passports. It's really, when it feels like home, it doesn't matter which passport we have, right?
Exactly.
In most of the
That's
cases,
true.
let's say.
That is true.
Oh, it was just a lovely session. Thank you so much.
We can plan another session later on, and
Yes,
I think we can do
everybody
different
here,
topics. Yeah.
you know, like with all these different topics that we touch, every single one of us learned something different, and we're gonna remember at least one of these things for sure. Right, Barbara? She knows that the volcano is not just green. Ruben knows that the army is not active in Costa Rica, and so on, so on, so on. Anyway, guys, you also, thank you so much for being here. Richard, I'm so glad to see you back. John, first timer, please come back. Thank you all, Heider and Nelson, for helping us represent Brazil. And I will see you guys soon, because now I have also vacation time, and I'll be back in like a week or so. Okay? Thank you
Bye,
so
everyone. A real pleasure meeting you, and we keep in
Bye.
touch.
Bye bye.
Good
Bye
evening,
bye.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.